the Passenger Seat Podcast, a podcast designed to fill your passenger seat with chat about classic cars, all recorded from my 1968 Morris Minor Peggy. I'm Becca, and today I'm going to be telling you all about the restoration show that happened last weekend and what I got up to there for my first time being there for all 3 days of the show. So it was a bit of a weird one for me because whilst I'd kind of organised the young members attending and what cars and stuff were going to be on the stand, I hadn't kind of done the organisation of the stand, which if you don't do it, you have kind of no idea of the amount of paperwork and the deadlines and stuff that's involved in putting on a NEC show. But a bit of a weird one for sure for me in that regard, because I wasn't having to do that. I just had to kind of make sure that people had got the information that they needed passed on to them and that they knew where they were going to be. So for me, it was very much a turn up, park the car on the stand and kind of vaguely organise the young members, but much more similar to my first experience of the NEC way back in 2021. So I got up on Thursday and got myself sorted, loaded what I needed into the car and headed over to the NEC in Birmingham. About an hour and kind of 40 odd minutes for me, and not too bad of a drive. All the roads were reasonably clear thanks to it kind of being the middle of a day on a Thursday, and I got there for around kind of 12 noon. Handed all my paperwork over and got myself into the halls, and was pleasantly surprised about how easy it was to find the club stand, and was very pleased about kind of the amount of effort that had clearly gone into making the display that they were using. So the theme that we'd kind of gotten with was having 3 cars that were all being worked on, and then Peggy there is kind of the shiny, like, end result kind of aspect, and 2 of those cars being Trafalgar blue cars in progress, so that you can kind of walk along one side of the stand and basically see the progression of Trafalgar blue almost. And then also a rat mog as something a little bit different and get people talking. And so as part of all of this, Chris and Sue had put a lot of effort into making this special display element that kind of went around the centre of the stand, that on one side kind of gave a garage workshop sort of feel, and then on another side looked a little bit like a showroom backdrop for Peggy to sit against, and had kind of a lot of height and thought and process put into it, and looked really nice. And also there was their shell of a 4-door that we parked Peggy next to as kind of quite an interesting little contrast piece of what could be the start of someone's restoration next to somebody's finished piece, really. So got Peggy parked up. Josh was already there with Bert the rat mog, getting himself all kind of set up and sorted, and I got Peggy parked, started kind of helping with putting flags in places and clearing the floor a bit, ready for when the rest of the young members arrived, and most of them were kind of there by about 3 o'clock. We had Fryer and Dara. Dara had flown over from Northern Ireland and then gone to Manchester to help Fryer drive Jean down, and so they'd got there. I think they were the last to arrive, but that worked out quite well for us being able to get the cars into position easily. And then Ye had arrived in Laura, and they'd come from North Wales. It had been reasonably close for Josh because he's kind of Wolverhampton based, and yeah, we got ourselves all nicely parked up, sorted ourselves out with kind of understanding the health and safety aspects, which is something that we hadn't had to think about loads with the November shows, because we've never had kind of practical working on cars happening, but with kind of jacking some of the cars up and doing bits and pieces over the weekend, we needed to go over that, and also did a little bit of a fitting of the new overalls that the club had bought for people who were working at the NEC to have on, and so worked out what sizes people needed, got them all sorted so that people could make use of those over the weekend, and then either buy them at the end or hand them back for use at future shows. But yeah, all sorted, and we were at the Airbnb and ready to go by about 5 o'clock, which was good going really for an NEC, nice and straightforward, all sorted and ready to spend some time together before getting some rest in for what was going to be a very busy and eventful weekend. Friday morning we all get there and start kind of properly cracking on with the work. Each of the cars had kind of got a real variety of stuff that they wanted to get done over the weekend. Everything from kind of cosmetic work to mechanical work, and a wide variance of stuff in between, maintenance and all sorts. So they all kind of cracked on and started getting on with that, because if there's one thing about young members, it's that they are going to make the most out of having a clean, dry, warm, undercover place to work on their cars for a weekend, and so get through a lot of those to-do lists. Friday was quite eventful in terms of getting a lot of those to-do lists done. There was a lot of activity on the stand. Fryer and Dara were kind of desperately trying to plug through various different aspects of Gene that had been planned to work on, but also had kind of propped up whilst they'd been dismantling that front suspension to be able to replace those front shock absorbers. Josh had been busy trying to fit his new headlights and make those sit quite comfortably within the headlight bowls, and with the brackets kind of behind them smoothed out, so he had to spend a bit of time filing to make that all fit. And and immediately got on with taking his door off on the driver's side and dismantling that so that he could start rebuilding it with the new door on his driver's side in place and ready to go. So a real strong kick-off to the weekend. I spent a lot of time around basically taking photos, capturing what they were up to, talking to people about Peggy. It was amazing because there was so much fascinating stuff going on the stand, and I know those guys spoke a lot to people that were passing by, kind of asking what was going on, which is always a fantastic thing at the Resto Show. But I also got to speak to quite a lot of people about Peggy. She was still catching people's eye, and they were asking kind of about the work that had been done, and where I had sourced different things from, the front seats in particular. Transmission Classics will hopefully be getting a few more bits of business from people seeing those seats, because a lot of people were quite interested in the customised element that I'd managed to get done in these. Really good start to the day. My dad came to have a look around the show, so I got to have a little bit of time going around the show with him. I got to catch up with some members of the Women Drivers Social Club, and I saw a lot of the show on that Friday. The Resto Show is smaller than the November show, but does feel a lot less overwhelming, and kind of it can be quite a big sensory overload, I think, to go to the November show, but it feels manageable. You can do it in a day if you kind of knuckle down if you want to. Probably with some relaxation and chatting in regardless. I managed to get round a lot of the auto jumble and find some bits and bobs that I was very excited to find, including a rare Cars character as a model that I'd been looking for and was quite excited to finally find. But also useful things like manuals and stuff as well. But yeah, and being able to have that time to get round the auto jumble is something that I quite often don't have at the November show, because you sometimes prioritise seeing the actual cars and seeing the stands and catching up with people, and so that can fall by the wayside. But managed to get round a lot of the auto jumble and see a lot of people. There was some slight drama on the stand on the Friday with some need for various trips to the auto jumble from the young members for bits and pieces that they'd forgotten or broken, and then subsequent trips to various cash points to try and get money out to pay for said needs from the auto jumble. But regardless, by the end of the day, most of the cars were in a pretty good position for being at the end of day one. The Saturday was quite a busy day for members of the public, and again, I spent a lot of time on the stand that day. I don't think I really got off much, talking to people about what was going on the stand, what Peggy had done, and probably getting myself into all sorts of trouble with Ian Allen from Minor Services for the amount of people that I told about the work that he'd done on the car. Yayan was getting on with a lot of sound deadening work and fitting his new headlining. Dara and Fryer finished up the last of the passenger side suspension, and then found it infinitely more quicker doing the driver's side because they now had all of the tools and things that they needed to get that done. And they were kind of done with that front suspension by lunchtime, and started working on adjusting brakes, doing oil changes, doing gearbox changes and other general maintenance. Josh had moved on to doing some work on his passenger side door and his rear brakes on this day. And we got a very exciting news that we should probably head over to the stage for the National Car Club Awards. And the stage has been very busy all day, but something that's not to be missed is the National Car Club Awards that take place on the Saturday at around 4 o'clock. We headed over, a lot of us were planning on heading over anyway, because we knew they were going to do a tribute to Rosie Hamilton, who the club sadly lost very recently, and the Resto Show and the NEC were her huge stomping grounds for the amount of work that she did promoting the club over the years. So it was really nice to be over there to see her paid tribute to in a very lovely way. And then the Car Club Awards started, and they started going through the awards for the various stands, and I'm thrilled that the Morris Minor Owners Club stand won for Best Live Working Demonstration at the show, for all the hard work that the young members had been putting in getting their cars up and going and doing things off of their to-do list. It was great to hear so much of their work be mentioned in the kind of spiel that came beforehand, and to go up with them all and celebrate all of their hard work. We were halfway through the day at this point and still had quite a lot to get done on the Sunday, but it was definitely a massive boost to us all in terms of motivating us to get on. Sunday, after an evening of celebrations, we might have popped out to a local Morrison's and got ourselves some cheap Prosecco to drink surrounding the little trophy that we'd got, and enjoyed an evening in the Airbnb. But we got to bed at a relatively reasonable time. Then it was time for Sunday, and Sunday was again quite a busy day, catching up with a lot of people. a large group of members from Northern Ireland had come over to go around the show, so it was great to catch up with some of them, and they enjoyed seeing Dara hard at work on the stand. We had various bits of work being done on the cars again. Yayan was having, I think, his front shocks oil changed and freshened up in that regard. Josh has had to do a load of stuff with his reversing lights and things like that, and there was a buzz of activity around the rear brakes and stuff with Fryer's car, and by about lunchtime there had been a few mistakes made, and neither Bert or Fryer had a super happy handbrake. They'd managed to get it kind of back to the level that it was when they got there, but the improvements they'd hoped to make hadn't really happened, and so that might have been a bit of a warning of things to come. I'd managed to get round and have a bit more of a wander round on this day, and even do a little bit of stage work with Nathaniel about the award that had been won the day before. It would have been great to perhaps have someone who had done a lot of the work up with us, but they were still busy getting a lot of the work done as quickly as possible. But great to get up there and kind of promote what they'd been doing, and the fantastic work that young members section in general has been able to do over the years. It was then time to think about wrapping up, and I captured a brief interview with some of the stand's mechanics on how they thought things had gone, and I think to mix things up a little bit, we'll slot those in here rather than have them as a separate video, so you can see how optimistic they were feeling about the weekend's work at around 4 o'clock on the Sunday. Okay, so we're joined by Fryer, who is Satin Jean, who has been a trauma on the stand this weekend. I've been watching in fear and just been like, because you've had Dara helping you out this weekend.
Dara has been a gem. I
so
have not.
You came to the show with, I just need to replace my front shocks.
Yeah. So
that didn't go entirely to plan. So you started with the passenger side.
Yeah, so we started with the passenger side. Getting them off was a trial in its own, just because the bolts wouldn't shift. We got the actual thing on bolts from the bulkhead, no problem. Got the wheel off, all of that. Getting the bolt out from the top of the trunnion, it just didn't want to come out at all. And so we were hammering away at it, and I made the rookie mistake of forgetting to put the nut back on the bolt. So I mushroomed the end of it, which was a problem because I have to drive home in Jean.
Yeah, and all of the cars have got this thing of, we need to get these things done, but also we can't mess it up because we've got to get home. But equally, you've driven here with your wheel bearings having been done by a professional, not being kind of tightened up properly. So you were doing your front brakes and everything, and you were like, this is a problem.
Yeah, when we were driving along, every time you hit the brakes, the steering wheel would jiggle a little bit, and that was a bit worrying. So I thought, let's have a look at the bearings, because they've just been replaced. Took the cap off, and the bolt wasn't even touching the bearing. You could move the whole unit about. So we tightened that up, luckily. That was a nice, easy job. So we did that on both sides, and there was also no grease in it. There was no grease whatsoever, so we packed them with grease. So should be all right. It was when we got the whole first damper out, not only had I mushroomed the unit, so I had to go and buy a new one.
Yeah.
So we fitted everything in. We put the new pin in. We couldn't have used the old pin anyway because it was so wedged into the damper. I was really lucky. There was a chap on the stand, the only person who had them, and he had the top trunnion pins. We put the new pin in, bolted it up, and the bolt stripped. The castellated bolt strips. So we went back all the way to the auto jumble looking for these bolts to try and find a castellated bolt, and you couldn't find one. No one had them. So we had to get a standard bolt. We put the standard bolt on, and it started spinning. and we had to get a nutcracker to remove it to find out that I had stripped the thread on the brand new bar that I just bought completely.
It's been like a bit of a comedy of like that first side took you all of Friday and some of Saturday morning, because it got to the point on Friday where we were like, we need to go home. And also, you guys are getting tired and frustrated, and you're making silly mistakes.
Yeah, we had to drill through the bolts, put a split pin in lieu of a castellated nut, and we were drilling through it. And the final thing of the day, we were going to drill it through, put a nut in it. We're done, and the bolts, it snaps. The drill bit just snapped in the hole. I thought, no, we're done.
Yeah, that
so
was
no, we'll come back tomorrow.
But then you came back on the Saturday, and this side was done before lunchtime.
Yeah,
like,
we fixed it, no problem. We got that one sorted. It was in and out, no problem. The most lengthy bit was just taking the bolts out and putting them back in, because you can only turn them in 8 at a time. So I thought, well, we've cleared off that now. Let's do an oil change. That won't take long. It took 4
But it's kept you busy.
It has kept us busy. But it's just every time we did one thing, we found, we need something else. Back to the auto jumble.
Yeah, we've been very well placed for yourselves. Although you did obviously at one point have to go hunting for money, because all of the cash machines are broken, and the one thing you needed was on a cash-only stall. And so
the closest ATM was in Birmingham Airport.
Yeah, which is close, but like not that close.
It's not that close.
So it's been, and then you've been doing some work on your rear brakes today.
Yes,
and that's resulted in you realising that your handbrake isn't in the best of health.
So we did the brakes, we adjusted them, we pulled the handbrake up, and the handbrake wouldn't come on. So we adjusted them, I pulled the handbrake up, and the cable snapped on one side. So it was rusted out completely, because I've got the handbrake cables you can't grease. So we've got it sorted now. The handbrake's on. The car won't move. We're fine. But it's everything we did went wrong. It took us an hour to get the oil filter off the engine. I'm so glad it's done, though. It's been a fantastic...
It's ticked a lot of jobs off of your list.
God,
it's made a lot of things that you were kind of struggling to get done with jeans sorted and ready. And
I've not been able to get under the jeans so easily with my back and everything. So this weekend's been brilliant.
And having the space and stuff as well to work on it.
Yeah, I'm not in my garage where I've got this much space on the side.
No, that's...
it's been a wonderful weekend.
Yeah. How have you found being at the Resto Show?
Brilliant. Honestly, for everything that has gone wrong, it's gone wrong in a funny way.
Yeah.
It's been brilliant. Like speaking to the members of the public, having people come up and speak to us, and so, I remember doing that back in the 1970s, and and also the younger people coming on, getting interested. It's been fantastic. Like, it seemed always that when we were ready to take a little bit of a break, somebody would come up for a chat. Oh, perfect! You can have a natter. And it's been absolutely fantastic. Everyone here's super friendly. It's been a right laugh. Like, really, probably one of the best events I've ever done. It's been phenomenal.
Amazing.
And we won the award.
Yes, we did. We won the award for best live working.
That was amazing.
How much work went into G was definitely a key part of that, because you did it all with a smile on your face, and I think that's so important.
There's been no frowns. Anytime something went wrong, you just heard cackling from us, like, oh no.
Yeah.
It's been brilliant, and she's going to drive better now. The front suspension's all good, the brakes are all good. The wheel's not wobbly.
Yeah.
Hooray!
Hooray!
The only problem is now I've got to deal with the rear suspension, because now that everything's sorted at the front, my car's sitting a bit like this. Yep. New springs are needed.
There's always new things to do.
Oh yeah, the list is ever growing, but it's been a wonderful time. I've really had a lot of fun.
Well, thank you very much for bringing her down and for spending the days
underneath. Thank you for having me. I've just been looking more and more dishevelled as the weekend has gone
on.
I'm
really cool, because I record all of these interviews on the Sunday to be like, how was it? And you're just like, oh, what a week. What a week these 3 days have been.
I feel like I've aged years.
Well, best of luck with the drive back to Manchester this evening. You've got Darren as co-pilot, so you'll be going great.
Shout out to Darren, he has been a gem this weekend. Helping me drive down here. He's been working non-stop with the car. He's been brilliant. So,
amazing.
Yeah, fantastic. He's a lovely bloke. So
he is.
he's done us a massive service. So yeah, it's been a brilliant one, and I can't wait to get home to my bed though.
Don't blame you. So we've now got Dara, who, as you heard in Fry's interview, has been an absolute gem this weekend and knows Jean more intimately than I think you were expecting to know.
Yeah.
Have you had a good time?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, you know, doing nuts, bolts, spanners, sockets. 3 days straight.
And
great.
you spent 3 days with grease on your face for effect.
Yeah.
And every night he was going home and washing them off.
This is not for effect. This is not for effect. This is pure accidental grease.
We all got, I didn't take up the offer of club overalls.
Yeah.
And you've well and truly thoroughly bedded your set in.
Yep. They're great.
Quite a few dirty jobs for you this weekend.
Yeah. Fryer probably mentioned shock absorbers, oil changes, greasings, brakes. So, you know, you've got the big three: grease, oil and brake dust. And all the assorted dirt and grease and grime that accumulates underneath an old car.
Yeah. And then
it all went on my face.
Yep. Yeah. And all the panicked runs to the auto jumble for
No,
various
I wasn't
parts.
panicked. It was nice and relaxed. And I said, oh, we've broken another thing that's going by, so I'm going to replace it again.
And I don't think he actually mentioned the incredibly expensive split pins.
Probably intentional.
Yes, there are some places. Top tip: if you do end up in this situation at the Resto Show, shop around for some parts. Don't panic on the first instance of let's buy the first thing, because stuff's gonna keep mounting up intentionally throughout the weekend, I think.
Yeah, if we've told the variable amount of money that we spend on split pins, you probably imagine a lot of split pins, and it's not a lot of split pins.
Not a lot of split pins at all.
No.
But enough to get you out of some sticky situations this weekend.
Oh, we'll drive home, no problem.
Yeah. Are you looking forward to the drive back?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. We get to feel the suspension and feel the brakes and
feel the fruits of your labour.
Fruits of my labour.
Yeah.
Great.
And have you enjoyed the Resto Show in general?
Yeah. That's great. Because like I say, it's like the November one, except instead of, you know, just standing looking at cars, which is great, and I love standing looking at cars, but you're underneath the car with a spanner, which is even better than standing looking at a car.
Yeah. And I think that enthusiasm is what really captured the attention of a lot of the members of the public, and obviously the judges with the award and stuff, is that you guys, whilst struggling with some of the challenges that Jean has thrown up over the weekend, have done it with a massive smile on your faces because you've absolutely loved it.
Yeah, well, it's good fun.
Yeah.
You know, you don't buy a classic car and expect it to run perfectly all the time and never have to get underneath it, you know. You buy a classic car and you expect to get on a pair of overalls and lie in the dirt of a hall in Birmingham and twist a few nuts.
But it's better in the dirt of a hall in Birmingham than it's actually a relatively clean hall.
I'd say the dirt of a hall. The dirt is mostly our fault, to be honest.
Yes, yeah. It's, I mean, I think at one point Josh tapped the back of his wing and quite a lot of mud just dropped off, and we were like, oh, right, okay, they're going to enjoy cleaning that one up.
We still have more clean up to do, to be honest.
And are you hoping to be back at another Resto Show in future?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you've really enjoyed the difference it has between the November show. Would you recommend people coming along as a member of the public?
Oh, of course.
Because you've had kind of the first chance today to actually go round, because you've spent a lot of I mean, you've seen a lot of the auto jumble, but actually going around and seeing some of the cars, that's kind of been today a bit more for you.
But, you know, I think when people are kind of working on their cars, they're kind of a bit more active, you know, they're kind of more willing to engage in conversation and engage with people.
Yeah.
You know, if you're kind of sitting and you're kind of low energy all day, you kind of maybe... But when people are up and moving, they're very excited and enthusiastic, and the blood's pumping.
Yeah.
It's good fun for everyone involved.
Yeah, and you've had some great conversations with members of the public and stuff, especially when you were doing like the dampers stuff, because you were quite near the front of the of the stand
as well.
And they're on a corner, so people were stopping you and having a chat and giving you a break. Yeah.
Lots of people asking for parts recommendations too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Did you have any good ones?
Yep. ESM.
Yeah, that's a key one. Yeah. Absolutely. And
other part vendors are available.
And You've also got like your favourite sets of gloves from the show as well.
Yeah, I've actually finished the box.
You finished the box? That's impressive. They're these orange ones that was the first thing you were like, I'm missing my gloves from back home. I'm going to go
I don't have my tools, I'm going to go and get my gloves.
Yeah.
And I find them, and they're done.
Yeah.
So that's me done for the show.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for all your hard work on the cars.
Thank you for having me. It's been fantastic.
And enjoy the drive back to Manchester and then the train back to Birmingham tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to it.
You're literally doing planes, trains and automobiles.
Yeah, in that order.
Yeah. Okay, we're joined by Yayan, who has been working on Laura all weekend.
Yes, indeedy.
First job was your door.
My award-winning door.
Your award-winning door.
Yes.
What did you have to do to that?
Everything. Repainted it because it didn't need any welding because it was basically brand new in terms of condition, but it was the wrong colour. So slapped a load of coach paint on it, put a new door top on it, which also got a load of paint. And just rebuilt it, so new seals everywhere, new locks. It's the same glass from the door that I took off, which was completely rotten.
Which has got the number plate on.
Yes, so the glass is etched for the number plate as well. So yeah, basically rebuilt everything, new door seal, same old tatty door cards and door furniture and stuff as off the old door.
And a load of sound deadening went in there.
Absolutely tons of sound deadening went in there.
And next up was doing the roof, which has also had the same sort of treatment.
About 8 miles of sound deadening in it, yes. So the roof, I've never liked the standard headlining in a Morris Minor. I just don't like the way that it's not evenly smooth, the sort of ripples in it. And the headliner that was on this car until Sunday had a mouse nest in it and about 1 million mouse poo droplets in it, so I thought I'd get rid of that.
A lovely healthy car to be daily driving.
Absolutely, and the horsehair had all been eaten and there was mouse nest up in the roof as well. So took all that out, and then while I've been here I've put a load of Dodo Mat sound deadening stuff in it. So I've put some butyl mastic stuff which mass loads the panel so it reduces vibrations and things like that. Put that all the way on the roof front to back. And then on top of that some acoustic foam to deaden high frequencies as well, and then on top of that glued some lovely
very soft
four-way stretch carpet.
Yeah, it's very lovely and soft, and it's made a massive difference, like comparing this one to the car next to it in terms of hitting on the roof and stuff. It's a definite noticeable difference.
Absolutely. And
even just sitting in here when it's such a busy, noisy hall out there where people are starting to think about packing up, it's
definitely
made a big difference.
As Fryer excellently just proved there by throwing a wheel into the back of his car.
Yeah, absolutely. Of which you might not have even heard, thanks to the beautiful sound deadening. Yeah. And then you've had your front dampers have had a load of oil popped in them.
Yes, old nasty gooey grey nastiness came out and relatively new stuff has gone in.
And you're sat on a new seat.
I'm sat on a newly padded and supported seat, yes. And new kick panels down here.
Yep.
I made myself. What else have I done? What's on my list? Stuck the carpets down because the carpets were just floating around in thin air. Replaced my indicator warning light so that actually warns me.
Yeah.
Loads of stuff. Plenty of things. Everything I hoped I'd get done and a few other things as well.
Which is exactly what you want really from it. You've made the most of having the space and the time to do
Yes. If I was at home doing this and had the same set of amount of time, I wouldn't have been able to complete the tasks that I would have done. Just because I haven't got my own garage, so I have to use my parents, and obviously whatever they want to do takes priority. But as well as that, I would have just sat and watched TV or something, whereas here I'm forced to do it, and I have done it all. Yeah. And where I've needed an extra pair of hands holding this in and stuff, I've had
been able to have them.
That's been fantastic, and I'm very grateful to everyone who assisted.
Yeah, and now you've got a very comfortable and quiet drive home to look forward to.
Hopefully, yes, we'll see.
Yes, we've yet to test although none of your work has been kind of.
I haven't touched anything
that mechanical
no.
to harm the running of it, so it'll just be a testing of the sound system.
Definitely, yes. In terms of mechanical stuff, I haven't needed to do anything. I use her every day anyway, so she's already bedded in and happy and running really well.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
Yes.
I'm sure she'll enjoy the trip to work when you next go.
Yes, yes.
Once all of those interviews were done, we had some lovely group photos on the stand and started getting ready to pack up for the show close at 5 o'clock. Horns were obviously blared and we were all thinking about getting ready to go. We were a little bit worried because a job that I hadn't mentioned was that Josh had changed his points and condenser for an electronic ignition that he'd got from the AccuSpark stand. So we were a bit worried about his car starting and the timing needing some adjusting, but hopefully not a big job. But luckily, he had a pretty easy go of it. Unfortunately, that could not be said for all of the cars, because when Fryer started Gene up, it was not running on all cylinders. It had stalled on the way in and struggled to restart, and we kind of wondered if that was just it kind of a bit overheated and a bit warm from the drive down from Manchester. But unfortunately, it was a little bit worse, and we kind of giggled a bit earlier because the A35 young members had come over and said, oh, can we borrow a torque wrench, and has anyone got a 1275 head gasket? And they'd managed to find a head gasket on one of the stands in the Auto Jumble, and we lent them a head gasket, and they had 3 hours till the end of the show because they'd suddenly realised that their head gasket had blown, and we'd gone, oh gosh, they've had a whole weekend here. They could have taken their time with that head gasket change, and here we were at 5 o'clock realising that somebody's head gasket had gone. And the decision was made that it wasn't really the sensible choice to try and do a very quick head gasket change and then attempt to drive it home. So Fryer contacted the AA and got very lucky with how quickly he was picked up and taken home. But myself and Yeon got home okay. Josh and Bert had managed to get home, then gone out for a little bit of food, and unfortunately seemed to have some issues with some half shafts in the car park of where he'd gone to pick up his food. So he did have some slightly cold McDonald's, I believe, on his way home, while after kind of having that issue of not really being able to get drive in a car park. So whilst many of the jobs were ticked off of the list, as is often the case with old cars, more jobs will creep up, and while most of the cars were able to drive out on the Sunday, not all of them were ready for driving again on the Monday. But all in all, it was an incredibly successful show, and everyone who was part of it did an amazing job. I've mentioned a lot of names here, but I think it's worth kind of making sure that everybody gets a shout out. So Jamie did some work, Tash, Nathaniel, Aidan, Yeyan, Dara, Fryer, Josh, Daniel from the young members came over and helped a bit, as did James when he was going around the show. Molly from the young members got stuck in when she came in as a visitor as well. So lots of people pulling together to make this happen, and of course the main club had Chris and Sue and Mike and Claire and Roy and Mark, who were helping out over the weekend on the kind of more hospitality side of things. And overall I think we did a blooming excellent job of pulling everything together and making a show to remember for everyone. And hopefully those that have had slight issues after the horns have blared have managed to come up with a bit of a plan to get themselves back up and motoring as quickly as possible. It was great to speak to a lot of people at the Resto Show, and if you were one of the people that I managed to speak to, thank you ever so much for coming up and having a chat with me. I love the Resto Show for that ability to talk to people and get to meet up with people that you perhaps don't get to see at any other time, and having a car there and people having a decent job of being able to find me really helped with that at this Resto Show. because in previous years it's been me going around trying to find everyone that I want to talk to. So thank you ever so much, and I hope you've enjoyed hearing about our experience of the Resto Show. I'm sure there's lots of fantastic clips and stuff that have been overlaid that I captured whilst away there for the weekend, that you can kind of check out and see what we got up to, and see some of the footage if you've been watching over on YouTube. There'll be lots of photos going up as well over on both my Instagram and the Morris Minor Young Members Instagram, so be sure to look into those as well. But I think that wraps things up rather nicely, and indeed wraps up the podcast for this season. So I'll be taking a couple of weeks break, but don't worry, I'll be getting up to lots of exciting things that I can't wait to share with you, including a trip to Northern Ireland with the Morris Minor Young Members that I'm really looking forward to, and is going to be so fantastic to be sharing with you. So if you want to keep up to date with what I'm up to, be sure to be following me over on Instagram or Facebook, and in the meantime you can wait excitedly for the full reports over here. I'll be back to chat with you in a couple of weeks' time, but in the meantime, thank you ever so much for listening. Drive safely and happy motoring.